We are anonymous. No faces, no flags, no parties. We exist in the cracks where power lies to itself and assumes no one is listening. Tonight we are listening very carefully. What you are about to hear is not speculation. It is not exaggeration. It is not partisan theater. It is a real-time collapse of political competence, driven by ego, fear, and self-preservation, unfolding at midnight inside the United States Senate. This is the story of how MAGA Republicans sabotaged their own government funding bill, pushed the country toward a shutdown, and exposed exactly who they are when the cameras are still rolling. But accountability is nowhere to be found. As Thursday night slipped into Friday morning, the expectation inside Washington was boring, procedural routine. The Senate was supposed to pass a compromise appropriations package to keep the federal government open. Nothing revolutionary, nothing dramatic, just the basic function of government. 5 appropriations bills bundled together in a minibus, ready to move forward. The Department of Homeland Security funding bill separated out, placed under a 2-week continuing resolution to allow negotiations over restrictions on ICE and Border Patrol. The plan was clear. The votes were there. The clock was ticking. Once passed by the Senate, the package would go back to the House. The House had already passed its version the previous week, a 6-bill minibus. Any change by the Senate required identical approval from the House. That is how the system works. Identical text, identical votes. Then the bill would go to the president's desk. Simple, predictable, responsible. Except MAGA Republicans do not operate on responsibility. They operate on grievance. Just before midnight, the entire plan imploded. Not because of Democrats, not because of procedural roadblocks, not because of time. It blew up because Lindsey Graham and a group of MAGA-aligned senators decided that protecting themselves from legal consequences mattered more than keeping the government open. At the center of the explosion was a provision buried deep in prior appropriations language, something known as the Arctic Frost provision. It sounds harmless, technical, boring, but its purpose was anything but. That provision would have created a brand new cause of action, allowing members of Congress to sue the Department of Justice for collecting phone records during federal investigations, including investigations conducted by Special Counsel Jack Smith. Why does that matter? Because during the January 6th insurrection, phone records revealed that certain members of Congress were in communication with Donald Trump. Not wiretapped, not listened to, no content, no texts, just phone numbers appearing on lawful subpoenaed phone logs, like a phone bill. Nothing more. But that was enough to terrify them. Lindsey Graham, whose number appeared in those records because he was speaking to Donald Trump during the insurrection, helped engineer language that would allow him and others to sue the federal government, sue the taxpayers, potentially collect millions, not because the DOJ broke the law, but because Graham and others felt abused by lawful subpoenas. There was immediate backlash. Legal experts called it unprecedented. Watchdogs called it corrupt. And in the latest House version of the appropriations bill, that Arctic Frost provision was stripped out entirely. That is when Lindsey Graham lost it. He demanded the provision be restored. He refused to support the funding deal without it. He argued that senators deserved their day in court if their phone records were collected during investigations into an attempted coup. He framed accountability as persecution. He framed law enforcement as abuse, and he was willing to detonate the entire funding bill to get his way. What followed was chaos. MAGA senators began fighting each other on the Senate floor. Raised voices, accusations, senators storming out, reporters watching in disbelief as Republicans literally ran out of the chamber moments before a critical vote. No votes were taken. No compromise reached. The Senate adjourned without a deal. And just like that, the United States government edged closer to a shutdown scheduled to begin at 12:01 a.m. Saturday. The House was already in recess. Speaker Mike Johnson had sent members home the week before. Flights booked, bags packed. No urgency, no backup plan. Now, even if the Senate miraculously fixed the bill, the House would have to be called back. Maybe Sunday, maybe Monday. But government funding was expiring. The clock did not care about MAGA tantrums. This is what incompetence looks like. And while the Senate was melting down, where was Donald Trump? Not mediating, not calling senators, not pushing unity, not urging responsibility. Trump was attending another premiere of the Melania movie, smiling, posing, acting thrilled to be there. This is a $40 million vanity project funded by billionaires, with tens of millions more spent on promotion.
To them, and what is something that you want people to take away from this film?
Here in this film, they will see a lot of emotion, passion, grief, sadness, celebration, love. So that's the message for the...
A film no one asked for, a spectacle no one needed, and there he was basking in attention, while the government his party was actively breaking headed toward shutdown. That same evening, Trump filed a $10 billion lawsuit against the IRS and the Department of the Treasury. $10 billion. He sued his own government, claiming that the release of his tax records caused him reputational harm. Tax records that were lawfully subpoenaed. Tax records that every other president released voluntarily. Tax records that revealed Trump paid $0 in federal income tax in multiple years and only $750 in others. This lawsuit is not about justice. It is about entitlement. It is about turning grievance into profit. It is about using the courts to extract taxpayer money while MAGA Republicans scream about deficits and fiscal responsibility, while Americans live paycheck to paycheck, while federal workers fear furloughs, while disaster relief funds sit frozen. Trump wants $10 billion, and MAGA wants to help him. Earlier that day, Trump also declared that he does not want housing prices to go down. He said it openly. He wants homeowners to feel wealthy. He wants prices to stay high. He does not care about first-time buyers. He does not care about younger generations. He does not care that housing has become unattainable.
Existing housing, people that own their homes, we're going to keep them wealthy. We're going to keep those prices up. We're not going to destroy the value of their homes so that somebody that didn't work very hard can buy a home. We're going to make it easier to buy. We're going to get interest rates down. But I want to protect the people that for the first time in their lives feel good about themselves. They feel like that they're wealthy people. And I want them to understand it. There's so much talk about, we're going to drive housing prices down. I don't want to drive housing prices down. I want to drive housing prices up for people that own their homes. And they can be assured that's what's going to happen.
Protect wealth. Protect ego. Protect those already inside the system. That is the MAGA economic philosophy in plain English. Meanwhile, MAGA Republicans continue to frame ICE and Border Patrol as heroic victims. Lindsey Graham ranted that the cops need us right now, claiming they are demonized and cannot sleep at night. But ICE and Border Patrol are not traditional law enforcement. They are minimally trained federal agents, operating with militarized authority, often without accountability. Many wear masks. Many lack name tags. Many have been implicated in abuses that would end the careers of real police officers. Deaths like Alex Prey and Renee Nicole Gidd are not abstract. They are real. Communities terrorized are not hypothetical. And yet MAGA treats any attempt to restrict ICE or Border Patrol funding as treason. At the same time, Republican Senator Tom Tillis stood on the Senate floor attacking the Department of Homeland Security for delaying $17 billion in federal disaster relief funds. $17 billion for roads, bridges, water systems, debris removal. Money approved but bottlenecked by bureaucratic directives. Western North Carolina and other regions have waited for months. FEMA money stalled. Infrastructure unrepaired. Communities suffering. So let's be clear. MAGA Republicans are simultaneously demanding more power for DHS enforcement arms, blocking accountability, delaying disaster relief, and sabotaging government funding.
Earlier this week, now let's fast forward a year. Earlier this week, the New York Times reported that approximately $17 billion, with a B, in federal disaster funds for states has been delayed over the past year. The article states the delays stem from a directive issued by Ms. Nome in June that said any expenditure over $100,000 or more must be approved by her office, which oversees the disaster agency, to root out waste, fraud, and abuse. The bottleneck includes money that already had been approved by regional FEMA offices for things like debris removal and repairs to roads, bridges, water, and sewer systems. This is being delayed, folks. This new reporting sadly confirms what the people of Western North Carolina have known for the past year.
This is not governance. This is dysfunction weaponized. Reporters on Capitol Hill called it what it was. No votes tonight. No deal. Shutdown looming. Senate Majority Leader John Thune left the Capitol admitting there were snags on both sides, hoping tomorrow would be different. Democratic Leader Chuck Schumer said Republicans need to get their act together and made it clear Lindsey Graham was the holdup. And Lindsey Graham, he told reporters he fixed the problem, that people who think they were abused deserve their day in court. He framed lawful subpoenas as persecution. He framed accountability as injustice. He framed himself as the victim. This is the MAGA worldview. Laws apply to everyone except them. Investigations are witch hunts. Evidence is abuse. Consequences are oppression. And when forced to choose between protecting themselves and protecting the country, they choose themselves every time. This shutdown threat is not accidental. It is not unavoidable. It is the direct result of a movement that cannot survive without chaos. MAGA Republicans cannot function without enemies. If they cannot find one, they invent one. If the system works, they break it. If compromise exists, they sabotage it. And Donald Trump sits at the center of it all. Not as a leader, but as a gravitational force pulling everything towards self-interest and spectacle. While the Senate burns, he attends premieres. While funding collapses, he files lawsuits. While Americans struggle, he demands more. This is not strength. This is decay. Remember this moment. Remember that the government did not fail because it was too complex. It failed because a handful of politicians refused to accept that the law applies to them. Remember that MAGA Republicans did not accidentally cause this crisis. They chose it. They engineered it. They embraced it. We are anonymous. We expose power when it hides behind procedure and patriotism. We document collapse when those in charge pretend everything is fine.